So here's the thing about revenge plots, they're supposed to be satisfying, right? Calculated. Clean. You execute the plan, prove your point, and walk away victorious. Except mine didn't go that way. It was Valentine's Day, and I was sitting across from Vivian Clark in a restaurant that looked like a rom-com set designer's fever dream, red roses, string quartet, the works. We were there on a contract. Literally. A fixed-term arrangement that expired March 1st. No emotions. No complications. Just two people helping each other save face in front of the exes who'd humiliated us. The plan was simple: show up together at strategic events, post the right photos, let people assume we'd moved on. Then walk away clean when the contract ended. But somewhere between the champagne toast and the second course, Vivian's hand found mine. And I stopped checking to see if Madeline was watching. Have you ever started something fake and realized it was becoming the most real thing in your life? Let me know in the comments. I think a lot of us have been there. This story gets messy. If you want to see how a fake relationship became the most honest thing I've ever done, hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. You're going to want to stick around for what happens next. I didn't plan to fall in love with a contract. The arrangement was Vivian's idea, technically. We met at my ex-fiancée Madeline's engagement party. Yes, I was invited to watch her marry someone else 6 weeks after dumping me. The venue was Gregory's family estate, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers, the kind of place that screamed old money and you don't belong here. Vivian was there as Gregory's ex, the woman he'd publicly discredited to make himself look like the stable, mature choice for Madeline. She stood near the champagne fountain, her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. To everyone else, she looked composed. But I recognized the armor. I was wearing the same thing. We made eye contact across the room. Not the kind that leads to romance. The kind that says, I see exactly what they did to you, and I know you see it too. She approached me first. Alexander Whitmore, she said, extending her hand like we were closing a business deal. Corporate litigator. I've read your consulting work on reputation management. Impressive. Vivian Clark, I replied, shaking her hand. I've heard your name. Gregory mentioned you once. Said you were too ambitious for your own good. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. He also told people I fabricated a harassment claim to damage his career. Turns out ambition in a woman looks a lot like malice to men like him. I nodded toward Madeline, who was laughing too loudly at something Gregory said, her hand resting possessively on his arm. She told mutual friends I was emotionally unavailable. Apparently, that's code for, he didn't propose fast enough. Vivian studied me for a moment, then gestured toward the terrace. Walk with me. Outside, the December air was sharp and clean, cutting through the performance we'd both been maintaining inside. Vivian leaned against the stone balustrade, her breath misting in the cold. They're winning the narrative, she said. Not a question. A diagnosis. For now, I said. She turned to face me fully. What if we change that? I'm listening. They want us to look pathetic. Discarded. The cautionary tales they point to when they tell people how much better off they are now. She paused, her eyes sharp and calculating. What if we gave them something else to look at? You're suggesting we stage a counter-narrative. I'm suggesting, she said carefully, that we become exactly what they can't dismiss. Successful. Together. Unbothered. I understood immediately. A relationship. A partnership, she corrected. Public only. Fixed term. We attend the right events, post the right photos, let people draw their own conclusions. By the time Gregory and Madeline's wedding happens in March, we're the ones everyone's talking about. And then we walk away. March 1st, clean break. No complications. It was brilliant. Strategic. Low risk. Everything a good revenge plot should be. We'd need rules, I said. She pulled out her phone, already typing. Obviously. Public appearances only. No private entanglement. Emotional neutrality maintained at all times. Automatic expiration on March 1st, no extensions, no renegotiation. What about our professional circles? If people think we're serious. We control the optics, she interrupted. We're two professionals who happen to be dating. We keep it separate from work. If anyone asks, we met through mutual friends, discovered we had compatible goals, decided to see where it goes. Vague enough to be believable, specific enough to shut down gossip. I watched her, this woman I'd met 20 minutes ago, already constructing a framework for manufactured intimacy. She wasn't doing this out of heartbreak. She was doing it out of strategy. I respected that. One condition, I said. Name it. If either of us develops actual feelings, we terminate immediately. No exceptions. She extended her hand again. Agreed. We shook on it. A business deal disguised as a relationship. A relationship disguised as a business deal. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I could control the outcome. I thought wrong. Because here's what I didn't account for. Contracts work when both parties want the same thing. But Vivian and we were both running from different wounds, using each other as shields against different wars. I wanted to prove to Madeline that I'd moved on. Vivian wanted to prove to Gregory, and to herself, that she couldn't be erased. But what we actually needed. That was something neither of us had written into the terms. And by the time I realized it, I was already 3 months into a relationship I'd designed to mean nothing, and it had become the only thing that felt real. The first sign that our arrangement had exceeded its operational parameters came via email. Alexander, my assistant said, forwarding me a calendar invite. The Hartley Foundation Gala sent this. They've seated you and Ms. Clark at the benefactors table. Should I confirm for both of you? I stared at the invitation. We hadn't RSVP'd together. We hadn't even discussed attending. But somehow, we'd been automatically coupled. Assumed inseparable. The photos had done their work. What started as carefully curated Instagram posts, a coffee date here, a gallery opening there, had taken on algorithmic momentum. People tagged us. Colleagues commented. Within 6 weeks, Alexander and Vivian had become a single unit in professional circles. My consulting client started asking about her firm's litigation services. Her partners mentioned my name in pitch meetings. We weren't just performing a relationship. We were becoming a brand. Confirm it, I told my assistant. Both of us. But the staged appearances were bleeding into something unscripted. It started small. A coffee meeting that lasted 3 hours because we'd gotten into a debate about contract law versus ethical obligation. A Saturday brunch that wasn't on the calendar, just two people who'd run into each other at the same farmer's market and decided to stay. Then came the late-night conversations. Vivian called me at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I can't sleep, she said. No preamble. No performance. Neither can I admitted. We talked until 2 a.m. About her family, a mother who'd taught her that independence was survival, a father who'd left before she learned to spell his name. About my tendency to treat emotions like variables in an equation, something to be solved rather than felt. You do that, she said, her voice soft through the phone. You analyze everything until it stops being real. And you guard everything until no one can get close, I countered. She laughed. Touché. Those calls became routine. 3 nights a week, then 5. We weren't performing for anyone. We were just talking. The crack appeared on a Sunday afternoon. Vivian had come over to review our public timeline before a firm holiday party. We were sitting on my couch, her laptop open between us, when she jokingly tossed me a spare key to her apartment. "In case you need to maintain the illusion," she said, smirking. "Boyfriend privileges." I held it up, the brass catching the winter light through my window. Should I post this? Really sell the narrative? Why not? We're committed to the performance, right? I took the photo. A simple shot, the key in my palm, her apartment number visible on the tag, caption reading, "Upgraded access." I posted it without thinking. By Monday morning, the compliance committee at Vivian's firm had flagged it. "They're saying we're cohabiting," Vivian said, her voice tight over the phone. "Gregory filed an informal complaint. Says our relationship creates a conflict of interest because your consulting firm has contracts with clients we're litigating against. That's absurd. We've never worked opposing cases. Doesn't matter. The optics are what matter. And right now, the optics say we're living together, financially entangled, and potentially compromising client confidentiality." I felt something cold settle in my chest. This was supposed to be contained. "It was," she said quietly. "Until it wasn't." I sat in my office that night, staring at the photo I'd posted. A joke. A performance. A staged piece of evidence that our relationship was progressing naturally. Except now it had consequences. Real ones. Vivian could lose her partnership track. I could lose client contracts. What had started as a calculated maneuver to reclaim our narratives had mutated into something with structural weight. The arrangement was no longer theatrical. It had become infrastructure. And the worst part? I didn't want to dismantle it. I wanted to protect it. The formal complaint arrived on a Thursday. Not through email. Not through informal channels. Through certified mail, delivered to Vivian's office with a CC, to the managing partners, the ethics board, and, because Gregory was nothing if not thorough, the State Bar Association. Allegation: conflict of interest and potential client confidentiality breach. He'd built an entire case. Screenshots of our social media posts, timestamped against active litigation calendars. A detailed chart showing overlap between my consulting clients and her firm's opposing parties. Even witness statements from colleagues who'd heard us discuss work at public events. It was comprehensive. Strategic. Designed not just to raise questions, but to torch her career before the questions could be answered. Vivian called me from her car. I could hear the engine running, but she wasn't driving. Just sitting. Breathing. "He filed it," she said. "I know. My firm got copied. Alexander, they're putting me on administrative leave pending investigation. I have 72 hours to respond with a full accounting of every interaction we've had, every client conversation, her voice cracked. I could lose everything. I'd never heard her sound like that. Vivian Clark, who negotiated million-dollar settlements without blinking, who'd faced down hostile depositions with surgical precision, she sounded terrified. "We'll fight this," I said. "We have documentation. The relationship is clean. We've never discussed confidential." "It doesn't matter if we're clean," she interrupted. "It matters what it looks like. And right now, it looks like I compromised my ethics for a relationship. They won't make me partner. They might not even keep me." We met at her apartment that night. No performance. No audience. She answered the door in sweatpants and an old law school t-shirt, her hair pulled back, eyes rimmed red. I'd never seen her without armor before. "We retract it," I said immediately. Publicly. "I'll release a statement saying the relationship was casual, recently ended, no overlap with professional obligations. We control the narrative, minimize the damage." "No. Vivian. If we retract now, he wins." She paced her living room, her strategic mind still fighting even as her voice shook. "That's what he wants. He wants me to panic, to back down, to prove that I'm the liability he's been saying I am. The moment I retract, every managing partner sees a woman who can't handle pressure. Who makes impulsive decisions. Who's exactly the risk Gregory said I was. So what do we do? She stopped pacing. Looked at me. We prove it's real. What? The only way this doesn't look like a reckless conflict is if it's a genuine relationship. If we're actually together, seriously, publicly, undeniably together, then it's not a breach of ethics. It's just life. I stared at her. You want to escalate the lie to prove it's not a lie. I want to convert the appearance into reality before they can weaponize the appearance. She was thinking like a litigator again, building the case. We provide documentation of a relationship that predates any alleged conflicts. We show consistency, commitment, progression. We make them see two professionals who happen to be in love, not two strategists gaming the system. But we're not, I stopped. We're not actually in love. She held my gaze. Aren't we? The question sat between us like evidence neither of us wanted to examine. I thought about the late-night calls. The 3-hour coffee debates. The way I'd started checking my phone hoping for her name. The way my first instinct when the complaint arrived wasn't to protect my contracts, it was to protect her. This wasn't supposed to happen, I said quietly. I know. We had rules. Boundaries. An expiration date. I know. Vivian, if we do this, if we claim this is real, there's no walking it back. We're not staging a relationship anymore. We're staking our careers on one. She sat down on the couch, suddenly looking exhausted. Maybe that's what we've been doing all along. Maybe we were just too strategic to notice. I sat beside her. I don't want you to lose your partnership because of me. And I don't want you to lose your firm because of me. That's not what I said. I turned to face her fully. I don't want you to lose your partnership. Period. Not because of me, not because of Gregory, not because of anything. I care about you more than I care about how this looks. She met my eyes. Searching for something. Confirmation. Honesty. Truth beneath the performance we'd perfected. Alexander. I don't want this to be strategy anymore. Silence. The kind that isn't empty. The kind that's full of everything you've been avoiding saying. Finally, she whispered, then what do you want it to be? I didn't have a strategic answer. I only had the truth. Real. March 1st came and went like a deadline no one wanted to acknowledge. I woke up that morning, checked my phone, and saw nothing from Vivian. No termination text. No, it's been real, message. No clinical wrap-up email outlining next steps for our amicable separation. Just silence. I made coffee. Answered emails. Took a call with a client. The whole time, I kept waiting for the conversation we'd contractually obligated ourselves to have. It never came. By 9 p.m., I texted her, our arrangement expired today. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, I know. Should we talk about it? Another long pause. Do we have to? I stared at those 4 words. The most vulnerable thing Vivian Clark had ever said to me, disguised as a question. No, I typed back. We don't. We didn't talk about it for 2 weeks. Instead, we just continued. Coffee on Tuesday mornings. Dinner on Friday nights. A gallery opening where we showed up separately and left together. No announcement. No redefined terms. Just a quiet, unspoken renegotiation happening in real time. But the absence of the contract changed things. Without the safety of expiration, every moment felt weighted. Permanent. Real in a way that made us both careful. One night, she showed up at my apartment at 10 p.m. without calling first. I need to tell you something, she said, still standing in the doorway. And I need you to not try to fix it. Okay. She came inside, sat on the edge of my couch, hands clasped tightly in her lap. I'm terrified of this. Of the ethics investigation. Of us. She looked up at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before, fear without the armor. I don't know how to do this without an exit strategy. My whole life, I've protected myself by staying independent. By never needing anyone enough that they could destroy me by leaving. I'm not going to. You don't know that, she interrupted. Neither of us knows that. And that's what scares me. I'm choosing something I can't control. I'm depending on someone who could walk away. And I don't have a contingency plan for that. I sat down next to her. You want to know my contingency plan? What? I don't have one either. I took a breath. I've spent my entire adult life intellectualizing everything. Converting emotions into strategies, relationships into transactions. It's safer that way. Predictable. But with you, I can't do that anymore. And it terrifies me too. She turned to face me. Why? Because I'm falling for you, Vivian. Actually falling. And I don't know how to quantify that or manage it or protect myself from it. I waited for her to say it back. She didn't. Instead, she said, I don't know how to do real. It wasn't a rejection. It was the most honest thing she could give me. Neither do I admitted. But I'd rather figure it out with you than go back to performing with someone else. She nodded slowly. Then leaned her head against my shoulder. We sat like that for an hour. No talking. No solving. Just being. The article dropped 3 days later. Not in a legal journal. Not in a professional ethics newsletter. In a gossip column. Power couple or professional liability? The Whitmore-Clark romance under investigation. It was anonymous, but the details were too specific to be coincidence. Screenshots of the compliance review. Quotes from unnamed sources at the firm. Speculation about whether Vivian had used the relationship to access privileged information. Gregory's fingerprints were all over it. My phone rang immediately. Clients. Colleagues. My own managing partner asking if we needed to discuss the optics. But when I called Vivian, she was calm. Eerily calm. He's trying to make me defend the relationship publicly, she said. Force me to either humiliate myself by recanting or tank my career by doubling down. What do you want to do? I don't know. What's the strategic move here? And that's when I realized, I didn't care about the strategic move anymore. The truth, I said. We tell the truth. Which is what, exactly? That we started this as a performance. That it became real. That we don't regret it. Alexander, that's career suicide. Admitting we staged a relationship. We didn't stage a relationship, I interrupted. We staged the beginning of a relationship. Everything after that. That was real. The feelings were real. The late-night conversations, the mornings you showed up at my door, the fact that I would burn every contract I have if it meant protecting you, that's real. Silence on the other end. I'm done protecting the image, I continued. I'm protecting the truth. And if that costs me clients, so be it. But I'm not letting him turn what we have into something dirty. You'd really do that? Her voice was small. Risk everything? I already am. The decision was made. No more calculated responses. No more managed optics. Just the truth, whatever it cost. The hearing room was designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A long mahogany table where 3 managing partners sat like judges. Court reporter in the corner, transcribing every word into permanent record. Vivian sat at one end, her attorney beside her. I sat 15 feet away in the witness chair, sworn in to testify about the nature and timeline of our relationship. Gregory wasn't there in person. He didn't need to be. His evidence spoke for him. The lead partner, Margaret Chen, slid a document across the table. Mr. Whitmore, this is a timeline compiled by Mr. Gregory Hastings. It alleges that your relationship with Ms. Clark began in November, 2 weeks before she was assigned to the Meridian case, a case where your consulting firm represents the opposing party. I looked at the timeline. It was meticulous. Fabricated, but meticulous. Coffee shop receipts from dates we'd never been on. Hotel reservations under my name at a conference Vivian had attended, reservations I'd never made. Even a screenshot of a text message I'd supposedly sent her discussing leverage points in the Meridian litigation. This is falsified, I said calmly. Can you prove that? The text message is fake. I've never discussed active litigation with Ms. Clark. Our relationship began at an engagement party in December, after the Meridian assignment. We can provide. Mr. Hastings has provided metadata showing these communications originated from your phone number. I felt the floor shift beneath me. He hadn't just fabricated a timeline. He'd manufactured evidence. My attorney called for a recess. We huddled in a conference room down the hall. He spoofed your number, she said, typing furiously on her laptop. Probably used a VoIP service. We can trace it, but it'll take time. Right now, his fabricated evidence looks more credible than our defense. How long? 2 weeks. Maybe 3. We don't have 3 weeks. They're making a decision by Friday. Vivian sat across from me, her face unreadable. She hadn't said a word since the hearing started. Vivian. You should distance yourself, she said quietly. Publicly. Today. What? Issue a statement saying the relationship ended months ago. That you're cooperating with the investigation. Give them a narrative where you're the one who discovered the conflict and ended it responsibly. That's a lie. It's survival. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were hollow. Alexander, he's going to destroy both of us. But if one of us gets out now, at least. No. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I interrupted. You're trying to protect me by erasing yourself. Again. Just like you've done your entire life. She flinched. I'm not doing it, I continued. I'm not pretending this didn't happen. I'm not pretending you don't matter. I entered this pretending. I'm staying because I'm not. The break ended. We returned to the hearing room, and that's when my attorney played her card. Before we continue, she said, I'd like to submit evidence regarding how Mr. Hastings obtained the communications he's presented. Margaret Chen frowned. What evidence? A forensic IT report from Ms. Clark's firm. It shows that Mr. Hastings used his administrative access he retained after his relationship with Ms. Clark ended, to remotely access her email account 17 times over the past 2 months. The room went silent. My attorney continued. He wasn't just monitoring her communications. He was harvesting them. Selectively editing them. And in at least 3 instances, fabricating messages entirely using spoofed phone numbers and email headers. She slid a flash drive across the table. The metadata is all here. Along with login records showing his IP address, timestamps, and the specific emails he accessed. Margaret Chen's expression shifted from skepticism to fury. This is a violation of federal privacy laws, she said slowly. Not to mention ethics violations that would result in disbarment. Yes, my attorney agreed. And it exposes his motive. This isn't about conflict of interest. This is retaliation. Mr. Hastings has been systematically attempting to destroy Ms. Clark's career because she ended their relationship and moved on. The hearing adjourned 30 minutes later. No decision. Just a terse statement that additional investigation is required, and that all parties will be notified of findings within 10 business days. Vivian and I walked out together, silent until we reached the parking garage. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did. You could have walked away clean. Let me take the fall. Protected your firm." "I don't want clean," I said. "I want you." She looked at me, and for the first time since the article dropped, I saw tears. "What if they rule against us anyway?" she whispered. "What if I lose my partnership and you lose your contracts and we destroyed everything for nothing?" "Then we destroyed everything for something real," I said. "And I can live with that." She didn't say anything. But she didn't leave either. We stood there in the cold concrete silence of the parking garage, two people who'd built a relationship on strategy and were now watching it survive on nothing but truth. The decision was pending. The relationship was fragile. But for the first time, it was ours. The email arrived on a Wednesday at 4:47 p.m. Subject: Ethics Investigation Findings, Confidential. I stared at it for 30 seconds before opening it. Vivian was somewhere in a deposition. I'd promised to wait for her before reading it. I didn't wait. Findings. After thorough investigation, the Ethics Committee finds no evidence of professional misconduct, conflict of interest, or breach of client confidentiality by Ms. Vivian Clark or Mr. Alexander Whitmore. Evidence presented by Mr. Gregory Hastings was found to be falsified, including fabricated communications and illegally obtained private correspondence. Mr. Hastings has been formally reprimanded and referred to the State Bar for potential disbarment proceedings. His access to firm systems has been permanently revoked. Ms. Clark's partnership review will proceed as scheduled. No adverse notation will be placed in her file. I read it 3 times. Weed 1. Not just survived. 1. I called Vivian immediately. She answered on the first ring. "They cleared us," I said. Silence. "Then, what?" "Full clearance. No misconduct. Gregory's been referred for disbarment." I heard her breath catch. "Are you serious? Check your email." I waited while she read it. Heard the small sound she made, not quite a laugh, not quite a sob. "We're clear," she whispered. "Yeah." Another pause. "I need to see you. I'm already on my way." She met me at her apartment. I'd expected relief. Celebration. Maybe even the victory conversation we'd been denied for months. Instead, she stood in the middle of her living room, still in her court clothes, and started crying. Not gentle tears. The kind that come from months of holding everything together. I crossed the room and pulled her into me. She collapsed against my chest, her whole body shaking. "We won," I said softly. "It's over." "I know." Her voice was muffled against my shirt. "That's not why I'm crying." I waited. She pulled back, wiping her face with the heel of her hand. "I need to tell you something. And I need you to let me say it all before you respond." "Okay." She took a shaky breath. "I kept you at a distance on purpose. Even after March 1st. Even after I knew what I was feeling. I told myself it was self-preservation, but that's not the whole truth. Vivian. Let me finish." She looked at me, eyes red but steady. "I didn't believe you. I didn't believe that someone like you, someone brilliant and successful and whole, would actually choose someone like me without an angle. Without strategy. That's not. I thought the arrangement made sense because it was transactional. I could understand transaction. I could trust contract. But love? Choice without contingency? I didn't believe that existed. Not for me." My chest tightened. "Why not for you?" "Because everyone who's ever claimed to love me has done it conditionally. My father loved me when I was useful. Gregory loved me when I made him look good. Even my mother, her voice cracked. My mother loved me, but she also taught me that needing someone was weakness. That independence was the only security. She sank onto the couch, and I sat beside her. So when you said you were falling for me, she continued, I panicked. Because I didn't have a framework for that. I didn't know how to accept something I couldn't control or predict or protect myself from. And now? Now I'm terrified, she admitted. But I'm also exhausted from pretending I don't need you. From acting like this is still something I can walk away from strategically. She turned to face me fully. You stayed. When you had every reason to leave, every exit ramp, every strategic justification, you stayed. Not because of optics. Not because of pride. You stayed because you chose me. Yes, I said simply. Why? Because you're not a strategy, Vivian. You never were. You're the first real thing I've felt in years. She closed her eyes. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Be loved without earning it. Be chosen without proving I'm worth choosing. I took her hand. Then learn with me. Because I don't know how to do this either. I spent 34 years turning everything into a calculation. You're the first person who made me want to stop calculating and just feel. She opened her eyes. I love you. The words hung in the air, simple, unstrategized, real. I've loved you since February, she continued. Maybe earlier. I just didn't have the courage to say it because saying it made it real. And real meant I could lose it. You won't lose it, I said. You can't promise that. No, I agreed. But I can promise I'm not going anywhere. Not for optics. Not for strategy. Not for anything. She kissed me then. Not for show. Not for an audience. Just for us. And for the first time since this began, there was no contract between us. Just choice. Valentine's night. The same restaurant. The same red and gold lighting. The same violin quartet playing something soft and timeless in the corner. But everything else was different. Vivian sat across from me, wearing a dark green dress I'd never seen before. No strategic color choice. No coordinated aesthetic for photos. Just something she'd liked when she saw it. I wasn't checking the room for Madeline. I didn't know if she was even in the city anymore. Didn't care. The table next to us wasn't occupied by Gregory, calculating his next move. It was just an elderly couple, holding hands between courses, comfortable in their silence. No one was watching us. No one was performing. We were just two people having dinner. Do you remember last year? Vivian asked, swirling her wine. Every second of it. She smiled. I was so nervous. I'd rehearsed conversation topics in my car. Planned exactly when to laugh, when to touch your hand, when to look at you like I was fascinated. I know. I could tell. Her eyes widened. You could. You were performing. I recognized it because I was doing the same thing. Except I was performing being unbothered. Performing like I'd moved on. Like sitting 15 feet from my ex-fiancé didn't feel like swallowing glass. And then I squeezed your hand. And then you squeezed my hand, I echoed. And I stopped watching her. Vivian set her wine down, her expression softening. I never intended to fall in love with you. Neither did I. I thought I could control it. Contain it. Set boundaries and timelines and exit strategies. How'd that work out? She laughed, the real kind, not the curated kind. Terribly. Turns out love doesn't respect contracts. The waiter brought our entrees. We ate slowly, talking about nothing important. Her case that settled last week. My new consulting project. The apartment we'd started looking at together. Normal things. Real things. No one would write an article about this dinner. No one would screenshot our conversation or analyze our body language or question our motives. And that was exactly what made it perfect. After dinner, we walked along the waterfront. The February air was cold, but Vivian tucked herself against my side, and I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. "You know what's strange," she said. "What?" "I spent so much energy trying to prove I didn't need anyone. That I was complete on my own. Invulnerable. And now? Now I know that was just another performance. Another way of protecting myself from being hurt." She stopped walking and turned to face me. "Loving you didn't make me weaker. It made me braver. Because choosing vulnerability, choosing to need someone and let them need me, that takes more courage than any independence I was performing." I pulled her closer. I used to think control was security. That if I could strategize every outcome, analyze every variable, I'd be safe. But all I was doing was protecting my ego. Keeping everything at a distance so nothing could actually touch me. What changed? You did. You made me realize that strategy protects ego, but vulnerability builds connection. And connection is the only thing that actually matters. She kissed me, soft and unhurried. No cameras. No witnesses. No narrative to maintain. Just us. So this part is for you. For those of you who've staged happiness to prove you've moved on. For those who've crafted the perfect social media presence while falling apart in private. For those who've confused pride with protection, independence with invulnerability, control with security. I understand the impulse. I lived it. When you've been hurt, when someone has made you feel disposable or insufficient, the instinct is to prove them wrong. To show them, and everyone watching, that you're fine. Better than fine. Thriving. So you perform. You curate. You construct a narrative of success and closure and moving forward. And maybe, like me, you even convince yourself it's working. But here's what I learned, the most dangerous performance is the one you convince yourself is harmless. Because when you spend enough time pretending to be over something, pretending to be happy, pretending to have moved on, you forget how to actually do those things. You forget that healing isn't a show. That love isn't a strategy. That connection requires the exact vulnerability you've been avoiding. I started this journey trying to prove something to people who no longer mattered. I ended it discovering something real with someone who did. Not because I planned it. Not because I controlled it. But because I finally stopped performing long enough to let something authentic happen. This Valentine's, there will be no audience. No exes watching from across the room. No rivals calculating in the background. No compliance committees reviewing our timeline. No gossip columns analyzing our optics. Just Vivian and me. And the quiet certainty that what began as fiction became the most honest thing in my life. If you're still performing, I hope you find the courage to stop. Not because performance is wrong, but because real life, messy, uncontrolled, vulnerable real life, is so much better than any narrative you could construct. Love doesn't respect contracts. But it honors truth. And truth, I've learned, is the only strategy worth protecting. The end.